Both of these ladies have grown their hair to their butt. But what if I told you that potentially in 5 to 7 years, you also could grow your hair down to your butt? And I'm going to save you some time because I've been spending time looking at their routines, finding out the similarities, and this might be just one of the most helpful videos that you watch. You're probably thinking, but my hair is absolutely nothing like either of theirs. But what surprised me was in some of the areas, both of these ladies are giving the exact same advice, even though they have very different hair types. Okay, so who am I talking about? Firstly, I'm talking about Chris Lindsay, or you may know her as the FairyFromother. And I'm also talking about Chassidy, who you may know as No More Lies 2012. Both of these ladies have YouTube channels, which I'm going to link down below, and you're welcome to check out their full videos whenever you like. Okay, let's get into this. So first of all, we're looking at their wash frequency. How frequent or how often do they wash their hair? Also, I want you to know that I am looking down sometimes, and that's looking at my notes because this is a lot of stuff to remember, right? So first of all, Chris. In the early stages of her hair growth, when it was shorter, she used to wash her hair weekly. Then, as it grew longer, she moved to washing it every 2 weeks. And finally, where it now sits, because her hair is obviously down to her bum, she now washes on a monthly basis. Now, Chassidy was washing her hair monthly, and she has explained that that's more so because of her lifestyle. But Chassidy does a lot of hair growth challenges, and when she does these challenges, she does make it clear that for her, it is best for her to be washing her hair every 2 weeks. That's like her ideal sweet spot. So, what's the advice that we can take from this? Well, I feel like the main thing that I'm seeing is first of all, we need to understand what our scalp needs. Secondly, it's about considering our lifestyle and also potentially the length of our hair as well. I do see this in myself. When I first started growing my hair, when it was still a teeny weeny afro, I was washing my hair on a weekly basis. But as it's grown longer, I couldn't keep up with washing it weekly. And so I've now moved to 2 weekly washes. So again, take the advice on board, understand what your scalp needs, consider your lifestyle as well, and also consider the length of your hair. Right, moving on to the second point, which is their wash routine. Let's have a look and find out what does that look like. So for Chris, she starts with a pre-poo with a herbal tea spray, and she will often do a bit of detangling during this pre-poo. Let me explain what a pre-poo is because I shared this terminology on a previous video and quite a few of you didn't know what it meant. So how I understand it to be is simply preparing your hair before shampooing it, like pre-poo or pre-shampoo, right? So that's what Chris does. She does pre-poo, and that's with a herbal tea spray. She will also wash her hair in twists. She does deep condition, and sometimes she will do a herbal tea rinse where she'll make a tea, like a DIY tea, for example, green tea. And I think she also uses Ayurvedic herbs as well to do this tea rinse. But while the deep conditioner is on, when she's about to wash it off, she'll use a, she'll basically pour the tea on her hair gently, on her scalp, and also on her hair, and allow it to rinse down her strands. Also, she does sometimes use bentonite clay instead of shampooing. Okay, so let's move on to Chassidy. Little bit less to share here. What I'm just noticing is she definitely shampoos her hair, and also she does deep condition. And she's mentioned that when after deep conditioning, she rinses that off with cool water. I believe because that allows her cuticles to begin to close and lock in all of that goodness from the deep conditioner. Right. So some differences here, but what's the advice that we can take from these two butt length naturals? I believe that advice is washing our hair is necessary. Do you guys remember when we were starting to hear and be told that we don't need to wash our hair and it's fine for us to go 6 months, 10 months, whatever, without washing? Guys, come on now. Let's leave that advice in, I don't know, 2010, whatever year it was. But 2025, 2026 and onwards, we're washing our hair, yeah, regularly. Okay. Let me just share another interesting fact about both these two ladies, because when I heard this, I thought, okay, this is interesting. Both ladies, when they deep condition, sorry if you heard that, that was just my ring scratching on the table. Yeah, when they deep condition, they both leave it in sometimes overnight. Now, here's the thing. Of course, professionals give us their professional advice, right? And it I'm sure is the right advice. They will advise us to follow the instructions on the deep conditioner. If it says to leave it in for 30 minutes, then we're encouraged to leave it in for 30 minutes. And that, I'm sure, is the correct advice. So I'm not coming against that at all, right? These professionals know what they're talking about. They've been trained, they've been doing hair for years on end. But in addition to that, both of these ladies have been deep conditioning their hair and sometimes leaving it in overnight. And here's the thing, they still have hair down to their butt. So, yeah, take from that what you will. I'm not telling you to leave your deep conditioner in overnight. That is definitely not the advice I'm giving, but I'm just sharing what both of those ladies have done. And that was a similarity across their routines. Right, moving on to moisturizing. So let's start with Chris. How Chris moisturizes her hair is she will use the LOC or the LLOC method. What does that look like for her? She will start with a herbal spray, then use a leave-in conditioner. The leave-in conditioner has great tones such as hibiscus and aloe vera gel. Then she will follow up with a herbal oil. So those oils include fenugreek, rosemary, ginger, henna, amla. Can you hear the Ayurvedic herbs in there? Sounds great, right? And then she will finish off with a butter to seal everything in. And that butter is full of shea butter, mango butter, and cocoa butter. Okay. Let me point out at this point as well, these are FairyFromother's own products. I can't remember. I think her product line is called Harmony Naturals. I think. If that's incorrect, feel free to correct me in the comments. But let me just put out there, this lady knows what she's talking about regarding hair, and she knows what she's talking about regarding products. And she has created a product line. So if you are thinking of growing your hair and you're like, I don't have a clue what products to use, I need help, oh my gosh, I don't know, then why don't you head over to her website? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Clearly, her products are doing well. So I can't attest to them. Honestly, I've never used them, unfortunately. I would love to one day. But that's just if you are someone who maybe is struggling with knowing what products to use on your hair, then man, take the advice from Chris because she knows what she's talking about. Okay, moving on to Chassidy. Chassidy uses basically, well, let me just say this. I've never heard of this before. This was a new one to me, yeah? But what the method that she uses is instead of LOC, she uses LOCO. Okay, let's go through it. So she starts off with water, that's her liquid. Then she will use a light oil such as jojoba or coconut oil. Or grapeseed oil. Then she will use a cream. I'm not too sure which cream, sorry, I didn't find that out. Then she will finish up again with another oil, which is a thicker oil, such as avocado or castor oil. I thought that was really interesting, and that was very, very new to me. One thing that I see from the way that she moisturizes is she feels that it keeps her hair moisturized for longer because she's doing the whole LOC and then more oil, right? Now, generally, it's a similar method across both, right? One is doing LOC or LLOC, and the other one is simply doing LOCO. The point is, get a liquid in there, get an oil in there, and get some kind of cream in there. We're not, let me let me just make this clear, okay? The no oils, no butters camp. No, I'm sorry. No, we're not doing that here. We're not doing that on this channel. We're not doing that in 2025. We're not no. No. Okay, I've said my point. But this video is not about me, right? It's not about me. This video is about these ladies because their hair is down to their butt. And this is what they're doing. So if they are introducing a liquid, an oil, and a cream, then isn't it a good idea for us to take that advice and let's follow that method? Something else I noticed from them is both of them actually working sections. Now, Chassidy's hair is a lot thinner, I'm not too sure which porosity, and I believe Chris's hair is much thicker. I believe she said she's medium porosity. Do correct me on that if you know otherwise. But again, they both work in sections. Neither of them are like, hey, let me just grab all of my hair and start working with it all at the same time. No. So I definitely take that advice on board to be working in sections whenever I'm washing my hair and actually whenever I'm doing my hair in general. Right, let's move on. Sorry, one other point. Because of the way that Chris includes Ayurvedic herbs, I think that also was great advice for us, that maybe consider the ingredients that we are using in our hair, consider using some Ayurvedic herbs and things like that, because they're really helping massively with her hair growth. Right, moving on to styles. Okay, Chris, I feel like you guys already know what's coming. I feel like you know what's coming because it's the same advice we've heard it from Indigenous Strands. We've heard it from Curl Code Black. We've heard it from So Doll. We've heard it from Janet Davis. We've heard it, who else? We've heard it from Lindsay Chris. We've heard it from Chassidy. Who else have we heard the same advice from? I can't even think. Okay. Is there a lady called Alamide? I don't know if I'm getting that right. We've heard it from Butasol. It's the same advice, guys. It's the same advice. You know what I'm going to say. Chris wears her hair in twists. Okay? Twist. This, honey. This. Yeah, Chris wears her hair in twist. Specifically, she wears chunky twist now, particularly as her hair has got longer. Her twist has got chunkier. She does also sometimes wear updos. And then Chassidy also wears her hair in twists. Okay, so yeah, she does do low maintenance styles and she feels it's important to train your hair to be stretched and elongated. So she does that through things like braids, twists. Sometimes she wears twist outs, braid outs, and also she will put her hair in a bun. Chassidy does not recommend wash and goes. I'm just saying. Awesome. What is the advice that we're taking from these two in the area of our styles? Try twists. That's one. Okay. Keep your hair up and off your shoulders. Like mine is right now, it's in a bun. So try and keep your hair up and off your shoulders. Yeah, and the main thing is, or the joining thing from these 2 points is keep your hair stretched. All right. So I feel like that's really, really great advice. Keep your hair stretched, keep it in twists, keep it off your shoulders. Awesome. So, I mean, essentially, the things that I'm sharing here, all about the twists, how they moisturize, things like that. At first, I did not know any of this. I didn't even know that my hair could grow long at all in any way, shape, or form. I thought that shoulders was my length, like that's just my length. I've actually shaved my hair off on 3 occasions, grown it back, and every time it only grew to my shoulders. So I literally just thought that's the longest my hair could grow until I had to develop my own routine. So the point is, if you're in a place where your hair is stuck at your shoulders, then what you also need is to develop your own routine. You have to create your own routine. That was literally my story. And so what I did is I created something that's about how to grow your natural hair past your shoulder length for the first time ever. I'm going to put a link to that in the description box of this video. And that's for you if you're someone who your hair is stuck, probably at shoulder length or neck length or shorter, and you've been trying everything and it just feels like your hair is never getting any longer. Through this, you're going to be able to create your own specific routine, just like these ladies have, right? Just like Chris has, just like Chassidy has, just like I have. You're going to create that routine. You're going to follow it through for 12 weeks. And by the end of that 12 weeks, you will see at least 1 inch of growth that you'll be able to retain that length. Okay. By the end of the year, if you carry it through, you could get your hair 4 inches longer by the end of the year. Imagine that, right? Not the end of the year, sorry, by a full year. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so the link is in the description box of the video if you're looking to grab a hold of that. Let's now move on to detangling, because Chris, okay, let's mark some of this, right? Chris doesn't use combs in her hair. She has mentioned that she uses combs for her daughter's hair when she's doing it, but not for her own. She also detangles her hair before washing it, right? And another thing, which I have mentioned already, is that she works in sections. Moving on to Chassidy, Chassidy also doesn't use combs, and she feels that she retains more length because it forces her to take her time with her hair. She does finger detangle first, and that's if she is going to use a comb. She doesn't use combs, but her point was, if I were to use a comb, I would definitely be finger detangling first. And lastly, she also works in sections. So what's the advice that we can take away from these butt length naturals concerning detangling? I think it's really obvious, but they would advise us to put aside the tools, put aside the combs, put aside the brushes, to work in sections and to detangle our hair with our fingers first, potentially before washing. So that's really great advice. And I want to say thank you to these ladies for this good advice. But we're not done yet. There's still more. Okay. Right. Trimming from Chris's channel. I wasn't sure about whether she trims or not. I couldn't quite find information on that. Again, if you know, please put it in the comments so that everybody else watching this video can find out. Now for Chassidy, Chassidy does trim her hair, but only when necessary. Typically, she will look through her strands. I talked about this on other videos first, where she will do a search and destroy, where when she sees a split end single strand knot, then she will trim it off. Okay, and regarding when she does dusting or when she trims her hair, she does that in 4 sections. She'll section her hair into 4 and then trim it that way. So in terms of the advice, something that I've seen across literally all 5 ladies that I've looked at so far, so that is going from Indigenous Strands, Curl Code Black, So Doll, Chris Lindsay, and Chassidy, right? All of these 5 ladies I've looked at so far, I think none of them trim like every 6 to 8 weeks. You know, sometimes professionals will tell us to trim our hair every 6 to 8 weeks without fail. Neither of these ladies do that. Again, I'm not coming against professionals in any way, right? One of my best friends is a professional, and every time I've gone to her for a trim, she has it looking literally chef's kiss, right? But here's the thing, in terms of growth, if your goal is proper length retention, and how these ladies have got right the way to their butt, they haven't been trimming their hair every 6 to 8 weeks. They trim their hair as and when needed. So I do think that's key for me to just point. I want to just say this is not my advice, okay? This is not my advice. This is advice from butt length naturals who have been there, done that. Now, let's move on to what these ladies never do or what they rarely do. This is an interesting one. Chris never uses heat on her hair. Never ever. Okay. She has never used added in hair. So for example, extensions, faux locks, you know, things like that. And also she doesn't perm or relax her hair anymore. Moving on to Chassidy. Chassidy also very rarely uses heat. So not that she never uses it, but very rarely. She never uses added hair. And also she doesn't perm or relax her hair. I also think, I haven't heard her say this, but I think that is why the name of her channel is No More Lies. I think it's lie to do with lie, like putting off the lie, because she says that in her introduction. But I also think it could be to do with lye, you know, that's an ingredient sometimes in relaxers. I don't know. Anyway, a lot of these similarities really resonated with the three ladies that I compared and contrasted in another video. They also have got to butt length. And so I'm going to put that video on the screen next for you to watch next. Go ahead and go and watch that video and see if you notice similarities literally across all 5 ladies. That will be absolutely amazing to know. Lastly, if you got all the way here, I'm going to ask you to press the hype button below this video and hype it up.